Welcome everyone to the Rift. I am your co-host, Jeremy, aka Darsay.
And I'm Kyledoom, Gloria.
Kyle, I want to apologize to the viewers. I look like crap right now, but that's just because I got off of work. It is so dang hot outside. And I know you were obviously complaining about the heat a little bit, but I do got to ask you, Kyle, how are you doing tonight?
Not too bad, man. E3 weekend, so it's a big weekend in between that and trying to keep up with the games. And then I went to a Cub game as well this over the weekend, so there's a lot going on. But overall, really good weekend.
Well, I'm glad you had fun at the Cubs game. At the same time, yes, E3, big weekend. I may, obviously aside from the Rift, because this is the Rift where we talk about League of Legends, I may be doing a video about my thoughts on this year's E3 for the press start page. So be looking for that here in a little bit. But Kyle, let's talk about LCS. So let's start off our show as we have been doing. Give me your big take this weekend. Kyle, where are you starting off at?
Big take. I'm starting over in NA. Phoenix won. Man, with the change of Adrian as support, it's just I don't know if it's even just him necessarily, but it's looking bad right now for P1. Really rough start, and with how close everybody else seems to be at the moment, and them just kind of bleh down there, it is not looking good for him right now.
I just love the fact that it took you so long to even say anything. You were just like, P1. Yeah, that's about it. No, just to give my quick 2 cents on that, yeah, I'm not quite sure what the issue is. The one person that I do want to call out, and it's not a big call out, but it's just I have not seen him show up this year, has been Ryu. I had him on my fantasy team last year, and he did great, obviously, for almost the entire split. And then towards the end, things started to go south for them. And so I don't know what the actual issue is, but, like, Ryu at H2K was a god. We talked about how great he was all the time. When he first came over to Phoenix 1, we talked about how great he was as well again. And then now just he's not there. And so I don't know if he's lost his motivation, if he's not playing to his potential anymore, or if he's fallen off. But something's going on over in P1, and I want to see Ryu return to his form, but right now he is not there.
Actually, speaking of Ryu, I cannot remember who it was. Just was last week came out. It wasn't one of the current analysts on the desk, but it was like an outside analyst that always is part of the shows for. I believe it's the Score Esports. One of their analysts was talking about, mentioned Ryu, about when his team is bad, his stats has always been bad, and he's always looked bad. But when his team has been good around him, he has completely shined in that spot. So what they were basically saying is he's always a victim of the team around him on if he performs well or does not show up at all, because they were going over all the stats throughout the years of his career, and whenever there was a downhill spiral, Ryu was not there at all. Whenever they're at the high peak, like Ryu was looking good, it was all this Ryu talk. It's because the team around him were all performing well.
That could very well be it. I'm not going to disagree with those statistics, but I will say even at the times where H2K was struggling, where there was a stretch, a lot of people do forget, there was a big stretch where Ryu first got there and H2K was not very good. I feel Ryu was still playing well. And right now, it just doesn't... Okay, let me start real quick with... We don't get to watch all of the games as closely as we used to because of the best-of-3 series. They're a little harder to spend hours upon hours upon hours watching all of the games.
Yes.
But... statistics-wise, every time I look at the statistics, and I did watch the Cloud9 game, Ryu just did not look very well, and his statistics are looking very, very bad right now. And that's obviously just my big concern. Just to make sure that we move the show along, I'm going to start my big take over in EU. And it's going to be a topic we discuss a little bit in the future, in this show, but I do just want to say challenger teams 0-6.
Mm-hmm.
That's obviously not good. We've talked about there being a big competition level between challenger and the LCS, and I don't want to sugarcoat anything for these teams, but I do want to say while I would say both teams look decently strong in certain series, overall they are getting steamrolled, and I wanted to double check just to make sure. But yes, they are or they have not even won a game in their series yet. Now, Ninjas in Pajamas have looked strong in their games, and they did look fairly strong in the Misfits games. It just seemed like that mid game happened and everything fell apart for Ninjas in Pajamas. Same kind of happened when they went up against G2. Like they looked strong for a little bit, and then everything just unraveled. I don't know if that's just late game shot calling isn't there because of the team still melding together, but right now, it's not looking promising for those challenger teams.
Next stage experience, man. I think that's a big thing about it, and as we've said multiple times, just that huge gap between the team that is performing online. Some teams are just online, not even in the same house necessarily, in challenger, competing games, and then having to jump up and competing against a group of guys that live together and always together, always scrimming together, which they are too, but not like an LCS team. It's just there's a huge jump from there to what you need to do in LCS, and we've always noticed that gap difference, and here's some more proof to add on to that.
Yeah, I hope things turn around for those teams right now. Just quickly looking at their schedule this week, both are going up against lower tiered teams in their sides, so this could be that week that they turn it around or at least get a game win, which could, as we all know, can do monstrous things for their confidence level as they move forward. But right now, it's just not looking too good. Kyle, give me your other big takeover in EU this time.
I would have to just go continue, man. Fnatic, like I talked about them last week, but coming out, beating G2, making a statement saying, "Hey guys, we are back, and we are here to take that spot." And they came out strong, man. Really good games, but you can't give Reckless Cannon. Stop it.
Yeah, I don't know why they keep doing it.
I mean, they shut him down the
so
one
good.
game. They shut him down the second game. They did take that win, but still, don't take that chance, man. It's a thing, and Reckless has made it a thing. You got to watch out for that. But again, having to waste a ban on a Kennen, which some teams do as a whole because it could possibly go top lane, and it still does do fairly well top lane. So it is a character that some teams just don't want to deal with it. But still, there's other characters that's worth a ban over them. And Reckless making a team ban Kennen on top of that, you're giving up another pick for someone else, and that can help Fnatic even more so.
Now, I will say this: as much as G2 did get that win in the second game, Reckless still went 5-2-1 on that
Still
Kennen.
fantastic.
So yeah, just do not give it to him. When it comes to NA, and I knew you probably saw this big take coming, but Team Liquid got a win. Oh my god, I was so excited. I actually, being really busy that day, did not get to watch that series. I watched some other games, and I just kind of chalked it up with like, well, Dignitas is undefeated. Liquid obviously not. Even though they got the one game win against Team Envy, which I still think they could have won that series.
Envy.
Well, Team Envy right now is 3-1, so let's not, bash Team Envy at the moment. They have looked very strong in their games so far. But I will just say, I thought Team Liquid could have won that series, but I kind of chalked up the Team Dignitas one as a guaranteed loss, and especially when I checked Twitter after game one while I was busy and saw that they got steamrolled, I was like, oh, great. But then when I went to sleep that night, I checked my Twitter again just to see if I won in my fantasy because I was really close and realized that I won. And on top of it, that Team Dignitas ended up choking against Team Liquid, and Team Liquid won. And then even on top of that, that Golden Glue played the entire time, and they won. So, and that he pulled off some crazy plays. But I want to give props to Team Liquid to finally get on the board. Hopefully this does set that momentum forward to increase the confidence. They feel like they have worked out whatever the issue, major issue is, and they just got to build now. Baby steps, obviously. This is not all of a sudden a team that's going to dominate. But they feel that they've started to figure things out, and obviously as a Team Liquid fan, I'm happy. And then also as a competitive fan, I'm happy to see that because no one wants to see the stark contrast that we're seeing at the moment with Team Liquid and obviously Phoenix 1 sitting so far at the bottom. Hopefully this brings that competitive level closer as we discussed in last week's episode.
Yeah, definitely. Again, we need a... You can celebrate that win, but going into next week is going to be a really hard schedule. Of course, you're going against Immortals and TSM, so you're going from one to the drastic change to the other. But we'll see how that goes. And I mean, if they stick with that same squad, which I'm sure they will, since they got that win, we'll see how they end up performing. If they fix even more kinks in that lineup, just smoothing out things, see if they can continue to grow off that. But a big thing is, of course, Piglet. Can he win that mid lane, especially when you're going against better mid laners like Pole Belter, which is number one overall.
Golden Glue.
Or Golden Glue to beat Pole Belter, which is in Immortals matchups, which is number one overall, and then Bjergsen right after that. If he gets dominated those in that mid game, which I assume he will, still, but if he could at least keep up with them, it's a good sign.
Now I will say this, and maybe this is where we start our discussions. You went to go crap on Team Envy at the moment, but I do want to say
no. I was going to say they're looking good.
Well, you went Team Envy, and you kind of paused there, so I'm going to assume you were going to go crap on them. But anyways, they beat Immortals. And then on top of that, which I won't lie, and I think you would kind of agree, in past splits and experiences, Pyring had not looked that great, in my opinion. And right now, he has the highest KDA out of all mid laners. So like, he's playing at a high level. Team Envy is playing better. And so, Kyle, I gotta ask you, because while in next week TSM plays, Team Liquid, obviously, TSM also plays Team Envy, and we had marked TSM as the number one team. We obviously marked Cloud9 as number two team, and right now Cloud9 obviously having a harder schedule to start off the season, but they're not where they want to be. But TSM has not looked that great as well.
No.
I got to ask you, is TSM in trouble with their current situation? Like, does the double lift sub and ADC, like movement back to ADC for the team, has that really taken a step back as much as every other team, every other person, excluding myself, did not think that was going to happen?
I think it has, just for the fact that since he took a split off, I think it's one of those things we're going to have to deal with, seeing that TSM team struggle at the beginning, but as time progresses, I can't talk right now. As time goes on, you will see that team start to steamroll teams more so, I believe. I think they'll start to perform better, but I mean, who knows what meta changes. But TSM's usually on top of that all the time. I do gotta say though, Sven Skiren has not been looking the greatest as of late. Not what we've seen, at least from his TSM performances. Like, it hasn't been up to that level. But I think it's just one of those things. You're throwing double lift back in there, and they're gonna win their games, and they may lose a couple that you think, hey, they should be winning. But I think they'll get better as time goes on, as they did when Double Lift first came. They started out rough, and then as time went on, they just started dominating. And look at them, they won another. They're number one in our all of North America again. So I think it's just a time progression thing. You just got to give it time. You got to give Double Lift a little bit of time for them to just gel back together. I think Biofrost has looked better this split than the previous split, though, because of Double Lift being in there, though. Biofrost, I think, has jumped up out of them all.
I'm just going off of your obviously your critique right now at the moment on Svenskeren, which I agree he's not looking the best. And stats are kind of proving that right now. Now this takes into account all the people who've played, because there are some people who haven't played a lot of games just yet. But Svenskeren is the 4th lowest KDA at the moment. He is also, when it comes to death, the 2nd most deaths, only trailing Dardock at the current moment, who again is a person that we said is going to take time to gel with CLG as he's new to that team. The one thing that he is still continuing to do well, though, is kill participation. He's in the middle of the pack, and that's always been one thing that Svenskeren's been good at, is making sure he's there to help out whenever there is team fights going on. But I don't want to push the alarm button just yet for TSM, because, as you already alluded to, this team always finds a way to pick things up and get things going at the end of the year. I mean, they have not missed a LCS finals, so let's just keep that in mind when we talk about this. They've been at every single LCS finals. But this team does not look as good as we had thought heading into it. And I don't know if it is that part about Double Lift taking the time off and this team needs to gel, or if this just means that they're not doing the same thing they did when Double Lift was on the team originally. At that time, Double Lift was shot calling, and Bjergsen was kind of that backup person. And if I remember correctly in an interview somewhere, and I don't remember, is Double Lift had said on Team Liquid he was basically having to make all the calls and do everything for the team when they were trying to avoid relegation. And now that he's back on TSM, he doesn't have to worry about that so much. He can just kind of sit back and help out. And that's totally different than when he was on the team the last time. So that makes me think that could be part of the issue, is that there might be conflicting ideas going on in that team, and it could be either Double Lift is being strong-headed and not listening, or the other guys are just not making the right calls. So that's going to be the biggest thing that they gotta work out. And it is still early, and they're not in a bad position like where they're 0-4 like Phoenix 1 is, whereas we talked about going 0-4, you now dig yourself such a big hole to try and get yourself out of it to get into playoffs and avoid the relegation spot, which is still something that we will be discussing in another episode. But at the same time, there may need to be changes to the team structure. Not players, but who's doing the shot calling. How are we going to play this team? Are we playing around Bjergsen, or are we going to play around Double Lift? That may have to change for how they're playing at the moment. But overall, though, it is safe to say they are not looking very strong compared to where they were last split or in last summer split with Double Lift on the team.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you have said. And as far as shot calling too and stuff, I mean, I know it's just a split, and Double Lift has been in the league for a long, long time, but he did nothing but play solo queue and stream for, what is that, 3 months, maybe?
Something
Around
along
there.
that line.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite a bit of time for somebody to leave and then come back and then shot call in a team aspect. I mean, I'm sure the adjustment isn't as bad for somebody like Double Lift, but going from the solo queue mentality of NA to back to team oriented, I mean, it could be a quite a bit of a change for him, even thinking I could take that break and come back like I was previously. Again, it's a thing. I think it's just time will adjust for them, and they will start. You'll start to see the TSM we know. Should. Anyways.
Yeah, we should,
Yeah.
but we got to see that team
Yeah.
first.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, speaking for another team, let's go over to EU for a second and talk a little bit about what you had discussed earlier. We're going to expand on it a little bit, but obviously not spend too much time on it since it was part of your big takes. But Fnatic 3-0. Now remember, they used to be the kings of Europe, and right now they are dominating. Kyle, is the kings of Europe back?
I think so, man. Like it's just everything's fitting them right now. They have a split under their belt. Um, that as a team as a whole, they found their jungler that seems to be working really well with them. I mean, just the synergy of that team as a whole is really nice right now. And I mean, as much as we were talking about Jess's previously before about how him switching to support makes sense because he was supporting anyways any other role he tried to play. He
I
didn't
want to
do a whole
say
lot. But
that was you.
hey, all right. But it was true.
I didn't diss him that bad. I mean, I did still was like, I don't know about this move.
but it was true. But I mean, his thrush play and stuff, man, it's unbelievable right now.
Good.
He's looking really good. That team as a whole is just looking really good. And Caps, Baby Faker, as they would call him, as much as he doesn't, a lot of people don't like making names, but the outplays he was doing against Perks during that series was just insane. He was outplaying Perks.
Baby Faker is finally showing up.
Dude, he did. He took the king of Europe mid laners, Perks, and outplayed him. So that hype around Caps that has been built up showed up against that series, and it's another statement saying Fnatic is here to take that spot. We want that number one throne over you, Ocelot. But
they're coming back to take the throne.
But they want that over G2, man, and they're here to not play around. And that win could be huge against that team as this split goes on, especially this early. And don't get me wrong. I mean, the week before they played with subs with G2, and this was first week back, kind of, from the long vacation. They're all finally back as a group, so it looked a little bit sloppier than what it should have. But still, you're G2. You got the players that you have, and Fnatic made a statement, and as I said, could be huge when it comes to the end of the split because they don't play each other till way down the road here.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm gonna try to quickly look it up for you, but yeah, they definitely don't play for several weeks. I do want to, I guess, I want to first start off with kind of the same thing that I said when it came to TSM. It is not time to press the alarm button just yet on G2. So G2 fanboys, if you're listening to this, we are not saying you guys it's the end of the world.
Nope.
By the way, I want to say G2 plays Fnatic the very last week.
Week 10. Yep.
Week 10. So, anyways, it's not time to press the alarm for G2. G2, as you had already stated, they played with subs in week 1, and this is the first time that the team is back together for the summer split. It's going to take a little bit to get back on all cylinders running. However, Fnatic looked awesome, and as you said, they've kind of been running over. Excuse me, they've been running over everybody at the moment, and I think Mithy said it best. I think it was after their second game in week 1 that the meta fits Fnatic so well at the moment, and like it's and that's why this team is doing so well. But I agree, as you can see it when it comes to these games, Fnatic just looks so dominant in their matches that this is the meta that works for them. And if it stays this way, if we don't get the crazy, which we know how Rito is, and Rito may end up doing it, mid-season, big patch, changes the entire structure of the game, and then these teams have to figure out how to, do something mid-season. If that doesn't happen, this could be a really good year for Fnatic. And I also just want to point out statistics because everyone knows how much I love statistics. 3 of the top 5 KDAs are Fnatic players right now. The other 2 is Unicorns of Love, which obviously they're undefeated as well. Unicorns of Love, awesome team. Hope to see them continue to do good. But this team is doing awesome. And I think if you are a Fnatic fan, you should be excited. You should be happy with what's going on. And I also want to say, for some people that we know, TK, Reckless is still probably, arguably, one of, if not the best ADCs in Europe, possibly even in the Western Hemisphere if you want to get that big. I know a lot of people thought Reckless had finally fallen off, but I think this proves that Reckless still can do work, still is the person that you want to attain to be, and I don't think this dude's going away, because even when Fnatic didn't look that great last split, he still was performing, and I kept saying that, and these statistics show exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, man, like Reckless is, as we just stated about the last series, even on the Kennen, as we kind of mentioned earlier about his play on a character like that, man, you're going to need to ban that out on an ADC like that. And he has a big enough pool that he can toss out normal ADCs and still perform at such a high caliber that you're forcing the other team to ban out somebody out, wasting a ban on a Kennen that they may want to rather ban a Zac or one of these a Fiora, one of these stronger meta picks right now that are top notch, and you're going to leave open a power pick for them because you need to get that Kennen out. I mean, Reckless is completely going to change that team around with the fact that even ban phase, teams are going to have to look at Reckless and waste bans on that.
The last thing I just want to say, just because we haven't given him a shout out yet, and we've given a shout out to every single person, is Soaz continuing to do work in the top lane. Again, I think a lot of people thought he was done, especially with how things went down while he was playing with Origin. No, Soaz obviously still can perform at a high level, still can do his thing, and his KDA shows it. He's right behind Vizicachi. I'm going to axe out Sendu. Not to discredit Sendu, but he only played 3 games, so he technically has the top KDA right now. But Vizicachi and Soaz right now 1-2. I think Soaz is putting in his work, and that team is good. If you're a Fnatic fan, be excited. Be very excited at the moment.
Yes.
Kyle, one other topic I do want to discuss when it comes to the matters at hand, and let me obviously remind myself with what I'll talk to you about. So give me a second, people. We got things to discuss. Oh man, there was one more thing I wanted to talk to you about. I guess big picture. Let's just this isn't the topic that I wanted to talk to you about. But this is something I do want to discuss with you. Let's go a little bit deeper into Team Liquid's win. And I want to ask you just, this is, I guess, an objective. It's your own personal opinion type of thing. We don't have any stats to back this up. But we did say that, or we do have talked about in the past, obviously, that Golden Glue always gets talked about how great he is of a player, in solo queue, how great of a player he is. In scrims, things like that. It just never could translate to the main stage. We said, obviously, bench him several times. Kyle, I do want to ask now, so we got the win with Golden Glue against Team Envy. Obviously didn't win the series, but we got that win. And you could tell in that win that Golden Glue felt great. And I remember you even sending me a text afterwards that said, let's calm down.
He played Galio against...
I'm just saying. But he won, okay? And he was looking very confident after that. And I remember, again, you had said, Golden Glue, let's calm down, in a text to me.
Yeah.
They didn't win that series. However, come around into Dignitas again. We game 1 get destroyed, but then game 2 and game 3 actually played fairly well and made some really big plays in those games. Um, Kyle, I gotta ask, as a person who has been struggling with nerves, they've brought in coaches to try to help with the nerves. Do you feel that these wins, like not series wins, I'm just saying wins in general, do you feel like this may be that thing that finally helps Golden Glue relax on stage and start to be the caliber player that's why all these teams keep trying to give him a chance on, and especially Team Liquid now in 2 separate splits after letting him go and bringing him back?
I mean, in the case of like any sport, it's good when things like that happens because mentality is a huge part in any sport that you do, whether it's esport or athletic sport like baseball or anything else. Like 80% of the game, 85% is all mental. Like it's in your head on if you're gonna perform or not. You need to have. I mean, don't get me wrong. You need to be gifted, but a lot of it is mental. If your mind is not stable and you're off everywhere else worrying about this or that, what if this pitch comes or I think it's this and it's this, and then you just start thinking too much and everything else, just like playing in mid lane with Golden Glue, man. You go out there, I don't like this champion where I'm going against, and you start thinking, but my creeps go, there's always all this Twitter rant about me, there's Reddit posts about me, there's all this social media things all against me. That's a mind fuck. Like it dampens a player's mentality. Now, if you start winning and you start performing well, like these last 2 wins, they took the last 2 series, and he even got a player of the game for one of the matches.
Yeah, it was his first one in his career.
Yeah, so mentally, that's now saying, hey, maybe I can do this. It's a step forward. Confident-wise, it should booster his confidence. Now, especially coming in next week, even if they do lose both series, but he performs well, especially against these guys, and even like if he could somehow win lane, I think it's still a good confidence booster for him himself. And I think that's when Team TL definitely says, okay, see, here's what we're talking about. Listen, we lost the series, but somehow he beat Pobelter or Bjergsen out on creeps throughout the game. And I'm not talking end game stat when they're losing by a ton and he's down, feeding up all the big waves because that's what, we do to catch up. I'm talking throughout the game, consistently staying up with these guys and potentially taking leads here and there and be able to take leads and make plays around the map to roam and not lose that lead. Don't roam down and then lose down 10 creeps. The next thing you know, you're down 40 creeps from one of them. Stay consistent in these games, and I think it can booster his confidence. But if he gets destroyed again and he goes out weak again, then you're going to have an issue of, okay, is this going to be a thing that we only see once every split, once every 4 or 5 weeks, once every, so often? You can booster his confidence, but it all depends on how he ends up coming out from that week. Like going into this week, it all depends on how he comes from that.
I will say, just because Kabi, or not Kabi, sorry, excuse me, that's the ADC over in Splice. Kobe said it when they were shoutcasting the game with Team Dignitas, is that the creep score obviously isn't always a good indicator on how well you do in lane, because some mid laners roam more, so they're going to lose out on creeps and they're going to be behind. But I understand what I agree with what you're saying, essentially, just besides that he needs to stay creep score with the mid laner, because that doesn't necessarily always mean something. But I do agree with, if he can hold his own against Pobelter and Bjergsen and create pressure in other lanes with his rope. Like if they get him on Talia again, which I think, as much as I don't think teams are going to ban out Golden Glue, I think you're going to at least put that ban against him and say, all right, man, you performed on Talia. Show me something else. If he gets on it again and does what he did with Dignitas, I think, again, it's that stepping stone, as I said earlier. And if they can just keep building that stepping stones for Golden Glue and just keep building his confidence, then I think it's going to be a good thing in the fact of finally this guy is going to have the confidence on stage where he's not so nervous and making all these mistakes. And we obviously have the jokes that run about him and things like that. You know, as much as I give him crap and have said bench him and have even tweeted at former mid laners and said, when will you be suiting up for my team? I don't want to see the guy do terrible. Like, I want to see him finally succeed.
No, but you want your team to win, and
exactly,
he's been a big issue.
Yeah,
with
and that's what I'm getting at is like, I don't like. I'm not sitting here inherently being like I want him to fail because no one wants to see him fail. I think at the end of the day, there is really no player that me or you would sit here and be like, no matter what, want this dude to fail. Like, I do not want to see him. Like, we would love that all of a sudden a guy just come out and play amazing, even the dudes that we hate, because it's like, you know what? That dude, we may hate him, but like, heck yeah, he does good because, again, as we've always talked about in this show, we want the West to look great when it comes to World. And so, like, the story of Golden Glue has always been, like, a really funny joke, and it's a way to, you know, obviously, you know, at his expense, picking on him, but we ultimately want him to succeed, and we said that when we talked about them bringing him back and his story about, you know, going to Korea and getting in Masters and doing all this stuff to try and help his confidence. I would love to see this dude finally succeed, and I'm hoping that these wins do that, and the way that he played and some of the things that he did in that game. Again, is the example of him getting player of the game. That shows what he can do, and I'm hoping that as a just a human being, that it like opens his eyes to like, you can do this, man. Just like take a breath and just play, man. So you know, overall, I guess the whole point that I wanted to have this discussion is not obviously about Team Liquid, but it's about for the other listeners out there who get frustrated or whatever and stuff.
It's easy in NA solo queue.
It's just like, remember, you know, confidence, like you said, mental is the big thing. It's so like, just try to calm down and just play the game, and you're gonna do fine. That's all that matters. And if you're not that great, you're not that great. It's not a big deal. It's just a game at the end of the day.
Exactly. And you can always get better. I mean, you take each day, you take each game, you take each performance, and you just try to get better with it. Example, our support that we play with, I don't think he likes the fact that I keep trying to play Kennen a little bit bot lane like Reckless and Sneaky does. But you know what? Eventually I'm going to learn. I started playing, I can't pronounce, the new ADC.
Oh, Xayah?
Xayah. I had no idea what I was doing with her originally, and now I've gotten better with her. Like, it took a little bit, but I'm starting to get better with her. Have I mastered her? Hell no. But I'm doing my stats with her has been a lot better than what they started out with. And it's the same thing I'm going to do with Kennen. I'm going to keep doing it. And, hey, I know you're listening to this when it does come up, but it'll get there, man. I promise.
Expect more games of Kennen. All right, Kyle, before we get into our pick'ems this week, is there anything else you would like to discuss?
Just quickly, not going majorly in it, but Splice, are they better? Are they still kind of me in the middle? Like, what do you think after last week? Like, I mean, it's hard to say with them going against, Vitality and then Mysterious Monkeys. But the way they beat them though, and kind of steamrolled.
Hmm.
Do you think that's a sign of the Splice that went to Worlds, or do you think this is just the effect of playing who they played?
I think Trashy said it best after their game. I think it was against Team Vitality. I could be wrong. Is Yes, it was Team Vitality. Um, is the coaching change has obviously had somewhat of an effect. Yamato Cannon is obviously not on Splice anymore. He's on Team Vitality. But overall, it was just actually that the players have had to relearn essentially the game, not because of the coaching change, just because of the fact that overall they said even though they did well and they went to Worlds, they knew that they're actually just not that good of a team yet, and they're continuing to work together. And I think that they finally are figuring out the best way to play with this team and recapture what they did in that summer split. They changed up how they did it in the spring split, and they're back to that run and gun, rough style of play, so to speak, of where they're just going to attack, and try to just beat you down. And so I think they're not middle of the pack. Essentially standing wise, obviously they still are middle of the pack. I still think they're on the upper side of it. But I want to see more against some of the stronger teams because, as we already said, Team Vitality and Mysterious Monkeys don't have a win. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say they're back based off of those games. Just taking a quick look into who they play this week. They play Unicorns of Love, which that's obviously going to be very tough. But if they're competitive in that game, like if they keep that game competitive, then I would say yes. Even if they lose both, the first two games, if they're close games, then I would say yes. We're seeing this team come back to form. Obviously, I don't anticipate Unicorns of Love losing to Splice because I feel like if they are not the best European team at the moment, they are probably second best.
Yeah.
And I don't think Splice is there yet, but that's going to be a big indicator on where this Splice team stacks up. But that's my 2 cents.
All right, and one last thing: does NA after 2 weeks have a number one in power
No.
rankings, or
No.
is it just a complete? Everybody's in a blender, pushing a button, and who knows who's gonna come out on top?
I think that. I mean, obviously, if I had to give a number one, I would say CLG at the moment. But I'm not sold on CLG yet either.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only reason why I'm unsure because, and I'm not trying to sound like a fanboy here, but the announcers even say this, and you can go back and listen to it. Team Liquid actually, there were big moments where they played well against CLG and obviously just ended up losing that series. And so that's especially at that time with how bad Team Liquid was. It was like that just kind of tells me where it's like I don't know about this CLG team just yet. But I think I also give that credit to, I think we've said this for a while, the competition level is closer in NA at the moment than, in previous splits.
Yep, exactly.
I think people could give obviously a big argument for how Immortals is playing, especially with Xmithy being there.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Team Envy's playing great as well. So yeah, if I had to give a number one at the moment, I would give it to CLG. But I think everyone is way too close at the moment, and no one is really hit that echelon of they're definitely a number one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I will say, 4 teams tied at number one, none of them people I expected.
Nope.
Not at all. All right, Kyle. We are now at the time of the show where we call them pick'ems. So, just to update people from last week, me and Kyle are both now 3-1.
Yes.
We both
Serious Monkeys. Damn
we
it,
both
Splice.
got our guaranteed win. I will say that. We both guaranteed our wins and got them. The only thing is we both chose the challenger teams to win, and it didn't happen.
No.
I will say though, my ninjas in pajamas were way closer than your mysterious monkeys. Anyways, we are now at our pick'ems again for this week. So Kyle, out of the games this weekend, who is your guaranteed win?
I'm going with Cloud9 and Immortals and NA. And I am actually going to go with my team again, Cloud9. And I think it's gonna be a really good showdown. But I think we're gonna see Cloud9, especially if Impact continues to play. I know they're gonna sub in and out, but with Impact in there, it's always fun watching them play.
Wow. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like I'm that surprised by your pick, because I do think Cloud9 is better. I just, standing wise, you could have easily have made that your upset.
I could, but I think
could've.
it's my guarantee. I got somebody else for
All
my
right.
upset.
Hey, more power to you, man. I'm actually, so here's my guaranteed, and you may call me out on picking an easy one, but standing wise, it should be a closer game. Is I'm taking Unicorns of Love over Splice as that guaranteed. As much as I want to say Splice is going to be way more competitive, and Unicorns of Love versus H2K was iffy, especially in the first game and part of the second game. I think that this obviously is a very safe bet, and it's not too lopsided like picking Fnatic over Rokat. So that's kind of my justification for going Unicorns of Love over Splice. So I am marking that down right now. Unicorns of Love over my team of Splice, which I am sad to say that, but Unicorns of Love is also kind of one of my teams, secretly. I mean, I have been a fan of them since they got called up.
Yes.
So I'm not jumping the bandwagon. Let me just say that much at least. All right, Kyle, who is your upset pick? And obviously, because you picked NA for your guaranteed, you have to pick your upset pick in EU.
Oh, really? No, I'm just kidding.
Obviously, we rolled this out last week, so I'm just making sure the listeners and the viewers remember that that's our rules. If your guaranteed is in one, your upset has to be in the other. Vice versa.
I am going to go with the challenger team again. I'm going to go, though, with Ninjas in Pajamas over Rokat. And I'm saying it's an upset. I'm saying it's an upset just because Rokat is an LCS team.
So is Ninjas in Pajamas.
And they were the challenger team. So that should be an upset. Technically, it should be an upset. If I'm looking at it, and we're looking at the Ninjas in Pajamas of being the challenger team coming back, and how bad we talk about the gap difference and everything else between challenger and the LCS, and how much of a gap there is, and how we talk about the fact that no matter what, even the bottom tier teams in the LCS are stronger than the challenger teams. I'm going to go with Ninja, man.
Oh. Like, obviously, I will say this. Standings wise, you were technically right. This is an upset. But, like, big picture wise, no one has a win. But I'll give it to you. I will give it to you. If you want to be very critical, Rokat does have at least one win.
Exactly. They do have a series.
They do.
They did win a game.
Yeah, so, all right.
And you said they didn't look bad. Too bad.
No,
the 1 week. So,
yeah,
hey.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, dude. You're, like, at least for me, this is a difficult choice. Because everyone else is, like, they're playing against some hard teams here. Man. So, for my upset, and I'm, like, I really, like, feel like this is going to be wrong. But standings wise, I'm gonna go upset pick is Echo Fox over Team Dig as the final game of the day on Sunday. The reason being is I still feel Echo Fox looked fairly strong. Dig obviously looked strong as well, but then obviously Team Liquid was able to turn it around. The only reason I'm hesitant on the Echo Fox choice, and I was surprised by this happening and was looking everything up to try to see what had changed or whatever. But Acadian didn't play against
No,
Cloud9.
they actually Rick Fox came out and tweeted about that to clarify that no one is benched on Echo
Oh yeah.
Fox. That they're a 10-man roster,
Mhm.
and this is going to happen this year.
No, and I read that and
So-
stuff. I was just surprised with how strong Acadian is.
Oh no, I
that
completely
he'd
agree.
be the one that
Mhm.
was sitting during that
But
series.
I mean, look at Cloud9 with Impact, how strong they look with him, but yet they continue to play Ray, which I don't care because I'm a fan of Ray himself, but he does have a lot to learn. He is young, but this is a way of them developing. And maybe now that they're going, I mean, we'll get more into it later, but franchising and being Rick Fox and Echo Fox and having money, a good backing and stuff, if they solidify a spot, here's just him starting to utilize what you may see. He's a
Mhm.
big part of what's going on right now, and
Yeah.
here's an example of it.
I mean, like I said, I'm not discrediting the choice, and Greg did not do very good in the first game. He
Nope.
did fairly well the second game,
Mhm.
but they were closer to winning the first game than they were the second
Yeah.
game.
Mhm.
But I just, for me, like when I look at that pick, especially with being the way Team Dig had played up to the point against Team Liquid, like that game 2 and game 3. Even in game 2, it was still very close. Game 3 was still fairly close too. I really feel more confident in that upset if Acadian is playing than I am right now if Greg plays. So
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm telling you right now, man, you look at that week 3 schedule, all these upsets would be super hard to pick.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, definitely.
I mean, these
I
upsets.
I ended up going Cloud9, but I was really tempted when if I was gonna pick my upset over there. I was almost hesitant to pick Envy over TSM because of TSM's performance right now.
But that's not an upset, though.
I know it's not now.
That's-
That's why I didn't do it because I was looking at the standings
know.
because of standings.
I know. And see, I could have went Cloud9 as my over my Immortals thing because I do think Cloud9's going to win that, but I wanted to be different. So,
Mhm.
Echo Fox over Dig. You heard it here first, guys. And Kyle, I'm hoping the Challenger team, even though I like Ninjas in Pajamas, I hope that they continue to lose because I want to be beating them. And if not, then Echo Fox better freaking like we need these. I need to keep it up.
That's
All right.
okay.
Anyways, so just to reiterate what our pickups are for Kyle, it is guaranteed pick. He has C9 over Immortals. Still surprises me he didn't choose that as his upset. I have Unicorns of Love over Splice, and then in our upsets, Kyle has Ninjas in Pajamas over Rocat. Yeah, all right. And in my upset, I got Echo Fox over Dig. And standing still, to remind you, 3-1 for both of us. All right, Kyle, that's all that we have on this episode. Thank you for joining me again. And all of the listeners and viewers, thank you guys for tuning into this episode of The Rift. Be sure to follow us over on Twitter. You can follow me over there at jculver28. That's JCULVR28. Also, you can find Kyle on Twitter at
TFL Kyledoom. That's TFLKYLEDOOM.
Be sure to follow us over there and tweet us about the show. Ask us any questions that you would like to have answered on the show so we can be an active part on this. Also, be sure to follow us on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's below me. Follow us and leave a comment about the show. Again, share any questions or thoughts so that you can get involved in this show. And then over also on SoundCloud, you can get the audio podcast of this, which will be uploaded fairly soon, and then we'll get the video uploaded soon after that. Be sure to follow us on there as well, and you can download the audio file and also comment there to get involved in the show. Kyle, we're going to have a good weekend when it comes to the games. Hopefully we do good on our pick'ems, but for the last time on this episode of The Rift, I am one of your co-hosts, Shirby Culver, aka Darsay.
And I'm Kyledoom Gloria.
Be sure to tune in next week as we continue to bring you the news from The Rift.